It is always in the yes.
Just a point of contrast. Foucault very carefully and precisely contrasted and made a relationship between epimelioseuton and notheseuton. To know oneself as epistemic, to take care of oneself as ethical. And he made very clear many times over that relationship and that very clear distinction.
Yeah, if so, we analyze in the text all the passages in which Foucault uses the expression esthétique de l'existence. It is always in the context of an ethical problematization. Thus, in the 1983 interview with Dreyfus and Rabino, he states, the idea of a bios conceived as the material for a work of art is fascinating for me. But then he immediately adds that what he means is not at all something as a regulative ethics, an ethics which has the form of a discipline of a set of obligations. So it is clearly referring this fascination, the idea, the bios as the material work of art, to an ethical problem. In another interview, 1984, he clearly states, I quote, this elaboration of one's own life as a work of art was the very center of the moral experience of the ancients. While, on the contrary, in Christianism, with its religion of the text and its idea of a divine will, morals took the form of a code of rules. It's what we said before, no? So this idea of the life as a work of art has a moral connotation, but also as a peculiar form of moral, not a moral conceived as we modern do as a code of rules and obligations. This is also an important point, because we are so accustomed to conceive of ethics as linked to laws, duties, obligations, that we cannot conceive an ethics which has nothing to do with this concept. While a true ethics is that, duty, obligation, law have nothing to do with ethics. They are a complete falsification of ethics.
But what about the Heideggerian interpretation of the Heraclitean ethos as abode, as a place of dwelling? It has nothing to do with...
of course, that's the same. No? The ethos is a dwelling. So it's not to obey to a law. And the ancient idea of ethics had nothing to do with the idea of the duty, of the obligation, of the law. No? These now we cannot do this now. This is all Judeo-Christian idea of morals, which is a code of rules. Morals, first of all, a code of rules. And what doomed to failure Kant's ethics is precisely the fact that he remained linked to this idea of a law, of an imperative. Even if his imperative has no content, it's just the form of the law, not a prescription, a concrete prescription, but it sticks to the form of law. That's why, in my opinion, Kant ethics is a failure. We cannot use it, but we can really use it. But this is another problem, but we'll go back to this, because we will try to cope with the problem of the idea of office. Because the idea of duty penetrated in the ethics through the idea of an officium. see this first in Cicero, but Cicero clearly says clearly this is nothing to do with the moral. But then Christianity. Christianity took from Cicero this idea of an office and made of this the main concept of all Christian religion. The holy office, the office. The idea that what defines the life of Christian is that his praxis is an office. And then office does not mean exactly duty. But then, time, this concept was translated as a duty, and then this is how the idea of duty entered the ethics.
Question. Yes? Do you think there was an intermediate stage with the Hebrews and the creation of the Sanhedrin between the Roman period and the Christian period? Sanhedrin in Judea with one group of officers that were in charge of religious law and one group that were in charge of civil law. And as the Christian era develops after Paul, when we see the exponential development of this whole idea of a civil office and combined with a religious office. So do the Hebrews have a role?
So, the Hebrew had, of course, like the Christian, the idea of ethics linked to ethics. It's very difficult in Judaism to make the distinction between the juridic and the ethical. The Torah is a law. So law also in the juridical meaning. One could say the Jews are, what defines the Jews is that they are a people who wants to establish legal relations with their God. I think would be a good definition of Judaism. But then, as far as the idea of office is concerned, I focused on the Latin term. So we try to. I'm working on a genealogy of the office in our culture. But then the problem of what this could have been in Judaism. So I stick to the term office, duty. And are you aware of the importance of this concept office? Because perhaps in the English language it's less strong. Because it's not religious only. Through religion, it penetrated the profane and the civil, so the officer. Why policemen or military are called officer? And why the ministry are called office? So the office, and then in the Latin, in the Neo-Latin language is more strong. In French and Italian, office, everything. Also the place is an office. The place, I don't know, in English you can say the place where an officer is an office. And a professor has his office and his office hours. You see how strongly this concept, that officium in the beginning was only the praxis of the priest. So it's only a religious concept that got secularized. Here we see here you see how strong is the relationship between a very ancient religious and theological concept and modern practices. And again, it's not easy to say, it's not that the one is the cause of the other, but we see a process of displacing, of translation, where a certain term, officium, which meant the praxis of the priest, and also of the Christian, the priest and of the Christian, the real Christian, then shifts to the administration, the civil administration, and you will have an office. So you have the holy office and the civil office.
Yes. Sorry, I'm wondering